So I'm here at TCAF 2012 with Emily Carroll. How you doing?
A little under the weather, but holding in there.
Well, I appreciate you holding it together for this 10 minutes.
But otherwise good. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah, it's a fun show. I see you've already sold out of that night in June.
Oh yeah. I didn't have as many copies as I did last year. It's a comic from last year, so I didn't even bring that many, but they sold out yesterday afternoon.
Do you do one comic a year?
I've only been to TCAF twice. They're the only two cons I've really shown at, except for Fan Expo in Vancouver this year. So yeah, last year I did that night in June, and then I did Dear Princess this year. So I've only done those two.
Nice. Well, I really enjoyed that night in June.
Thank you.
It's a story in 7 parts. Why a murder mystery, or did you choose the format before you chose the story? Did you choose the story before you chose the format?
I really like murder mysteries, and I particularly like ensemble mysteries that have like a wide cast of characters. So initially that story came from actually just wanting to profile a family, and there ended up being 6 characters in the family, and originally it was just going to be a series of books profiling each character, but murder mysteries bring people together, I guess, so I thought it was a good way to kind of unite all the characters so that they had a common theme in all their books.
So, you have a lot of fun experimenting with this format. With your new book, you just do straight up book. Are you going to experiment more with different types of format of comics, or was that just sort of special for the story?
I think that night in June kind of came out of the stuff I do on the internet. I do kind of comics where you can kind of like click around and choose the story you want to read, and originally that night in June was going to be an internet comic. So I kind of then just took it to print and how I wanted to tell a story. I like doing just straight up normal like page turning comics. I think there's so much you can do with those, so I think for now that's kind of what I'm doing when it comes to print comics, just because it's so much easier to make, and sticking the other stuff probably on the internet for the next.
So what kind of stuff do you do on the internet?
I do primarily horror comics, but also some kind of fairy tale comics and things like that. They're all short stories, readable in like 5 minutes. A lot of use of scrolling and clicking and things like that. Kind of like a storybook feels for most of them.
Nice. So you are playing with that format online.
Yeah.
So what kind of where do you draw your inspiration for your illustration and your type of style?
Like the technical style of. Well, right now, probably one of the things that influences me the most is the illustrations of Henry J. Ford. He illustrated these color fairy books that were edited by Andrew Lang, over 100 years ago, of just fairy tales from around the world. Translated into English, and just like these very traditional fairy tale drawings. I really like working with those. I've got a couple stories online that look like that, but also just like European comics. I really like Chris Blaine a lot. His use of color, I think, really influenced me. But yeah, I can never think of anybody offhand.
Yeah, no, that's a good sampling.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, what kind of problems and issues did you encounter with, making a story in 7 parts and having it all collected in an envelope? Was it just really hard to package?
Yeah, I got the envelope. That was purely function. I didn't know. I made these 7 booklets, but didn't know how I was going to give them to people. So an envelope was just the simplest, most cost-effective solution, really. And then I have a stamp that I stamp the whole thing on, and I think it looks kind of neat. Ultimately, the story themselves were actually pretty easy to put together. I did have to make a chart of what happens in each story, because each booklet impacts and informs the story of at least 2 other booklets, and so each one. So I created a timeline for this family and key events that happen in the book, so that I could sequence them accordingly and not lose myself in telling the story.
Yeah, there's a lot that happens over those books, and it's just amazing how much you can fit into each story. The story itself is very open-ended, and it's sort of, after you read the initial book, you can read any of the character story in any order. Do you have an ending that rings true for yourself?
No, I did leave it open. That book in particular, I really wanted to leave it to personal kind of, it was almost set up so that you could have a favorite character, and then you could say well, I interpret the actions of this character to be like this, or I think this happened at the end. Because at the very beginning of the story, it does say that there's a fire that happens that night, a fatal fire, so somebody died, but you don't know who and you don't know how the fire was caused, but in every booklet you could make an argument for who caused the fire or how the fire was caused if you choose. So yeah, I kind of wanted to leave that open, so like maybe if you prefer one character you think, oh, he set the fire for insurance reasons, or he set the fire out of jealousy, or it was an accident with a candle or a paper or something like that. So yeah, I just wanted to leave it open-ended because like, I kind of like that kind of stuff, so readers can take ownership of certain elements of it.
Nice. Now we were over in the caravan area where they're showing us these comics video games where people came in, and you have a video game that you made, point and click, Yawhg. How did you get involved with that?
That was Miguel Sternberg, who curated the show. He basically contacted me. I'm not sure how he knew who I was, but basically what happened was he contacted 5 artists and 5 indie game devs and teamed us both together. I'd never met the fellow I was working with, Damien Summer, who makes a lot of really cool little indie games. So he kind of taught me about how to make games, and I just provided him a ton of art for it. But yeah, no, I just didn't want to pass up the opportunity because I love playing games myself, and I just think that video games are such a cool storytelling opportunity that I would really like to, I think, explore more in the future. Like just moving comics and games, or just storytelling in general. I just think it's a cool avenue to explore.
Yeah, and it's really cool the way they're coming together at TCAF and online and stuff. So where can we check out your comics?
On my site, emcarroll, carroll.com/comic is where all my comics are. There's from the past 2 years. There's a lot of webcomics there, but there's also I've had stuff in print, but it's in anthologies, and they're all kind of scattered all over the place. So I was in the anthology project Volume 2. I was in a new anthology called Explorer. It's like a kids kind of anthology. I was in a book called Spera. I did 20 pages. I didn't write it though. And yeah, and I've got more stuff coming out, and I'm working on my own book now. So
nice. It's all very exciting.
Yeah, it really is. I'm really it stuns me every so often that I get to do so much of this stuff, and feel really lucky.
You are. And thank you for sharing your art with us.
Thank you for stopping by. Thanks.